Socks. Oh, come on. Let me sit here. Oh, here he is. It's a sunny day, Socks. You should be awake. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my show. It's, what is it? What day is it, Socky? It's Tuesday. Everyone will think I'm cruel for waking you up, but look, you have got... Oh, you should see his face. He's going funny. Look, what's these? What's these? They're dreamies, but they're dreamies with catnip. These are the druggy dreamies. I'm going to put some on here on the arm of the chair for you. Oh, Socky. Socky has had a parcel of 10 packets. Was it 9 or 10? It was a lot of these in the druggy green catnip flavour, which is his favourite, and he goes berserk for. It's Julian and Graham again. He sent me a lovely card today. With congratulations on my being 30 years a published writer, which is very kind of them. Look, Socks, look at the card. Look, he's reading it. He's not, he's sniffing for more dreamies. And Socks got a parcel. The postman came to the door and said, "Oh, I forgot this one. It's a parcel for Bernard Socks." Again, didn't he? And that's what you got. I'm going to give you one more. You shouldn't have too many because you go funny. I'm not sure you should have this many. I hope everyone's well. This is just a small update. Thank you for all your comments yesterday after that terrible review that one of my older books got on all the social media platforms. Somebody pointed out that the person writing it, putting it on every single social media platform, is a bit weird, actually. It's a weird thing to do, isn't it? Flood the world with your ire. Right, good news today, apart from Socky's parcel, is that I have had a rights reversion letter, which is a publishing thing. When you have a book go out of print, or when the publisher stops wanting to do anything with it, you can ask your agent to request a rights reversion letter from that publisher. So the rights all come back to you, and you can do something else with the book, bring it out again, sell it again, get somebody else to do it, hopefully, or do it yourself. But all the copyright comes back to you. And this is what's happened, or what I wanted to happen with my book, The Story of Festa Cat, which was a book I wrote in 2013 and published with Penguin US in 2014. It's the story of our first cat, Festa, who was a stray, who came into our lives in 2006, letting himself in through the back door and moving in with us. And he died in 2013. So we had 7 years of our first years living in this house. And so it's the story of us in this house and our relationship as seen through the eyes of a little black and white stray cat. And it's a book that means the most to me out of many of my books, out of all of my books. It's one of the most important ones to me. It was like being possessed and taking on the voice of this little cat after he'd died. And it's touched a lot of people. And we sold it, my then agent sold it to Penguin US, and it didn't come out in this country. And Penguin US kind of brought it out, and the editor retired. And I don't think it did much over there. I think some people read it. And because, again, I took on a genre and turned the genre upside down, I did something different with it. Had the animal look at the humans, a bit like, as I remember, Virginia Woolf did with Flush, telling the story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning's dog, her spaniel, through his eyes. I think that's right. Anyway, it's languished. And after a number of years, I set about trying to see how could I get the rights back. And it's very, I hope you can hear me, it's on a tripod over there with no microphone. It's quite complex, not least because my agent had left her job to become something else, and the agent that replaced her promptly told me she didn't like what I did and dumped me. That was harsh. And I went to another agent, and that was for a few years in this kind of winding career that you end up with as people leave jobs or you're passed on to people, or and meanwhile at Penguin US the original editor had retired, a new editor had come in and she'd left, and there were new people there, so there was nobody talking to anybody who knew each other or knew about this book of mine. 10 years, 12 years is a long time in publishing, I guess. And what happened? I kept on and found people at the original agency. It was made complex by the fact that the agent had moved agency as well while she was my agent. I think that's right. Anyway, I found people who would spend the time for no reward at that place sorting this out for me, and it's taken a couple of years to get the right people to write to the right people and to get the right letter back. But now I have it, and this is mine again, the rights to the text of this book, which I it's still it still touches me to think about how that month of initially writing this felt. Writing out of grief, really. That's what it was. Terrible grief. It pulled together lots of strands of grief in my life, and I think that's what sometimes losing a pet can do. It's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people about this in the years since, and the gratifying thing is a lot of people turn to this book to when they've lost a pet of their own. They recognize something in this book and it helps them. So we have to get it back out again for people. What else? I read all yesterday evening and abandoned my plans for this week. I abandoned my reading of pulp paperbacks, and I picked up instead this Tessa Hadley novel, Free Love, and read the first huge chunk of this. I've been told for many years to read Tessa Hadley. I've read her short stories in the New Yorker magazine. My friend Georgie, my late friend Georgie, who was a brilliant writer herself, always recommended Tessa Hadley. And for some reason, I'd never read one of her novels. And I picked this up. My friend Wayne recommended this as well. And he's got a good eye for fiction. And this is it's set in the late 60s. It's a very, very upper middle class family in London, and a friend of the family visiting for supper. And stuff goes on. The mother, who's our kind of primary focus, has an affair with this much younger fella. Phyllis, she's called. Her daughter's Colette, and she's bookish and lumpy. Roger is the stiff ex-military husband, and there's a creepy child and a slightly creepy young man that she has the affair with. You are inside everybody's heads at different points, and this is the crucial bit. You really care about everybody, and I think that's what makes her stuff so good, makes her fiction so good, that you probably wouldn't like the people in real life, but she's introducing you to their secret selves, I would say. And that's the fascinating thing. And that's what you get from the best fiction, I think. Where's the bit where they go into the garden? That's what I liked. There's this kind of strange bit where they're having a slightly unsuccessful dinner party for this young man coming, and it's all a bit excruciating, really. Everybody trying to get on. And then there's a phone call from a slightly bullying person who wants her child's sandal, which has fallen into the pond next door, or has been kicked there by their child. And so she asks Phyllis to go next door and go and retrieve this this sandal from the pond in the dark. And so they all go tripping outside, and then all the sexy stuff happens in the dark outside. But you get this bit where they walk out into the darkness. I'm not going to find it, am I? Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's where they go down to the garden. This is it. Phyllis was ready in her Wellingtons and wanted to get out away from whatever she'd found around the dinner table. Colette said that if anyone thought she was fishing in ponds for the barn's prices at this time of night, they had another think coming. We ought to bring a slotted spoon or something. We don't actually want to use our hands, Phyllis said, seizing an unsuitable silver serving spoon. Roger went off to look for a torch in the garage, and when he was gone, Colette found a red plastic one in the dresser drawer. They couldn't wait for him to begin. Because of the absurdity of their quest, they were infected with childish irresponsibility, plunging away from the sociable bright lights into darkness, returned inside their private selves under its cover, aware of one another with a renewed intensity. I thought that was fascinating, that the cover of darkness returns them to their secret selves, their inner selves, away from the bright sociability. Halfway down the garden, leaf and flower beds gave way to a few sparsely planted young birch trees, blotched trunks spectral in the torchlight. The torch was weak and flickered. Colette shook it hard and it went out altogether. Nicky, who's the young man who's come to have dinner, tripped over a tree root, and the other two, yelping, grabbed at him. They all hung on to one another. Then the blackness yielded to their eyes, strained open. Then the blackness yielded to their eyes, strained open, and they began to make out shapes again, upright, inky penstrokes of the trees, numbly squatting tool shed to their left, dark mass of the tall hedge dividing them from the Chidgley's garden to their right. Above them, stars. Roger called amiably from the house. This is the bit I love as well. Outlined against the light inside, he appeared when they looked back at someone left on shore, when a ship has sailed. The night was ripe with the earth's exhalations, mushroom-pungent leaf mould, hint of reeking fox, foliage sour from fermenting all day in the sun. I could just go on, I could read the whole lot. All of that descriptive stuff is wonderful. Usually description flies past me. I don't really care, unless it's somebody like Catherine Mansfield, and that's who this reminds me of. There's something very old-fashioned about it, of course, not just because it's set in the 60s and it's about these kind of upper crusty people. There's something about the perceptiveness of it. That description of the sourness of the foliage because it's been fermenting in the day's heat is beautiful, I think. And I love that about the man in the light, as you're in the dark, looks like a receding figure when a ship sets sail. He's the person left on shore, and of course they are swimming out into the unknown. as the housewife takes a tumble with this young man and gets up to all sorts. So that's great, and I'm going to definitely look for more of her. It's nice to read something that rewards attention. That was the phrase I used yesterday about something else. It's good to read something that really rewards that kind of attention. I like fiction where the writing melts away and you're hardly aware of it being writing and you just see, you feel the story. But at the same time, I love reading something where the writing is so sharp, it gives you perceptions that you would not necessarily have verbalized or articulated to yourself. Anyway, that's what I'm reading now. I'm writing. I wrote a chunk this morning, 1,300 words again, hooray! And I'm doing my edits on my new Doctor Who book, my Dracula book. I got my edit notes yesterday, I think, and I'm doing a big chunk of that each day, responding to line edit notes, which is finicky and interesting as usual to do. Just to make sure that things are in the right period, in the right tone, they are correct for the readership that we've got, and to nudge things back on tracks sometimes when I've gone overboard on something or got something slightly wrong. But there's not a huge number of notes to do. I just got to do it carefully day by day, and maybe a quarter of the book each day. This is all my working out. I'm giving you all my secrets. Right, Socks is here and he's dozing. I'm sitting the other way around today. Have you noticed? It's all excitement. It's all action-packed, this, isn't it? I do have more questions to answer. There was a long question that I do remember somebody asking about. Did I mind if anybody said they preferred, for example, an earlier book of mine? That was their favourite. Does it put me off, or did I like it when people liked my more recent stuff most? And drew a few comparisons with people who lived in the shadow of things that they did earlier on. I don't think I've ever had that. There's been no temptation of that, really. I don't think. I do get irked slightly when anybody who wants to kind of describe me talks about me as a Doctor Who writer. Because yes, I've written tie-ins, but it's not the most important thing I've done for myself in any sense. It's just part of what I've done. Of course, if anybody says he writes for Doctor Who, they say, has it been on the telly? And you're forced to say, no, I write tie-ins. I write books. And they kind of look at you askance, but have they been on the telly? As if that was the be-all and end-all. And of course, it's not. It would be nice, and it's properly paid in a way that books rarely are, in my experience. But that's not happened for me. Not for want of trying, of course. When Russell T Davies took over Doctor Who for the second time a couple of years ago, I did email and said, look, I'm putting myself forward this time. I didn't last time, thinking that it would be the wrong thing to do, not kind of protocol, but I don't care. I'm 50 odd now, don't care. Here's a couple of scripts of the most recent Doctor Who's I've done for Big Finish. I just want them to be with you. So I can't say to myself, I didn't try. And he's like, oh, okay. Delete, I guess. Anyway, so nothing came of that. But I did have to just say I would love to write for this show. And I'm a wizard with scripts and a wizard at doing Doctor Who stories. But the call has never come, which is a great shame, but never mind. I do my thing. And at the moment, that thing is this first Doctor story for Dracula, which is something you would never see otherwise. So I'm happy. Right, that's 20 minutes of guff and blethering on. You know what I'm reading, you know what I'm writing, and you know everything I'm up to. So I shall stop and see you again quite soon. Goodbye.